In this video, I'm going to talk about some common mistakes that people make in pronouncing Sanskrit. Sanskrit is a very important language because so many powerful mantras are in Sanskrit language. Though pronunciation is not really so important compared to devotion when pronouncing mantras, I will say probably pronunciation is only 1% and devotion is 99%. But still, in the beginning, when somebody doesn't have devotion, pronunciation is all one has. So pronunciation is somewhat important. And more importantly, when pronouncing Veda mantras, pronunciation is very important. Veda mantras are like missiles. If you have the perfect pronunciation, they give the intended result. So pronunciation has some importance, and in this video I'm going to talk about some common mistakes that people make. And there are some areas where North Indians are more correct and some areas where South Indians are more correct. So what I am going to outline here may not completely match with any one particular part of India. But one thing I want to point out is all these things are derivable in a logical way from the rules of grammar, etc., and the rules of meter, etc. So there is nothing arbitrary here. There is nothing left to opinion here. This is all derivable in a logical manner. And simply because we are living in deep Kali Yuga, people have made mistakes and people just followed others, and these mistakes became deeply ingrained in common practices. We will look at the pronunciation of a few vowels like E, A, O. Some people make mistakes even in that, so I just want to make a subtle point here. This is the vowel E, and this is the E basically added to the consonant Ya, Ya consonant. So the Ya consonant is explicit here. So this is E and this is Yi, Yi. Similarly, this is A, and this is Ye. This is U, without the Va sound being explicit. This is U and this is Wu. Va and then explicitly Okara. So U and Wu. This is O and this is Wo. Sometimes people basically mix up. Instead of saying O, they say Wo. Instead of saying E, they say Yi. For example, if you look at this part of Veda mantra, in the mantra pushpa it comes, it's supposed to be Ya Evam Veda, but some people pronounce it as Ya Evam Veda. It's not Ya Evam. Evam is wrong. It should be Evam, A. When you say A, there's no Yakara explicit in it. Whereas when you say Evam, you actually get the Yakara. So this is not Ya Evam Veda, but Ya Evam Veda. So again to emphasize, E and Yi, A and A, U and Wu, O and Wo. So this is one thing where some people make a mistake. Now I am going to talk about the pronunciation of the three sounds, Sa, Sha and Sa. These are the three sounds similar to Sa, and some people pronounce Sa as Sa, some pronounce Sa as Sha. So there is a lot of confusion there. So I want to explain the pronunciation of those using a picture. So if you look at this picture, if this is the head of a person and these are the lips and these are the teeth and you are going to the back of the mouth, the sound ka is pronounced at the back of the mouth. If you say ka, you will see that your tongue is raised at the back of the mouth. When you say cha, actually say ka, cha, ta, ta, pa. If you say it in that order, paying attention to how your tongue is moving, you will realize ka, cha, ta, ta, pa. Ka, cha, ta, ta, pa. The place where your tongue is raised and touching the upper palate and blocking the airflow, that position is moving from the back of the mouth for ka to the lips for pa. So for ka it is at the back of the mouth. For cha it comes a little forward. For ta it comes even further. For ta it actually comes to the teeth. And when you say pa, it comes to the lips. So you are going all the way from the back of the mouth to the lips. That is why these are actually arranged in this particular order in the Sanskrit alphabet, which is very, very systematic and logical. There is nothing arbitrary in the Sanskrit alphabet. So anyway, the pronunciation of the sound sha, sha, sa, the clue is these are very similar to cha, ta and ta. When you say cha, wherever tongue is raised, it is raised at the same place when you say sa. The only difference is when you say sa, tongue is not completely touching the palate. It is nearly touching so that air can keep flowing through that small gap. Whereas when you say cha, the tongue is raised at that particular position and air is blocked. So you can only say ch. You can't say ch continuously. Whereas you can say sh continuously because it is not touching. When you say cha, it is touching. When you say sha, it is nearly touching the raised tongue. So say cha, 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 cha. Feel where the tongue is touching the palate. Cha, cha, cha. In the same place, make it not touch completely, you will get sha. Cha, 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 sha, sha. Similarly, ta, 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 sha. In the same place where tongue is touching the upper palate, ta, ta, ta. Same place, if you make it not touch, nearly touch but not touch. This is ta and this is sha. Ta, ta, sha, sha. Similarly, ta. Ta is at the teeth, so in the same place you get sa. If it is not, if the tongue is not touching the teeth, but nearly touching, you get the s sound, sa sound. So ta, sa, ta, sha, cha, sha. So what you can do is, you can say cha, sha, cha, sha, cha, sha continuously. See if your tongue is moving. If it's not moving, but if it is only going like this, touching the palate, not touching. If it is doing this, then your pronunciation is right. If it is doing like this, then your pronunciation is not right. So you should get a feel for where your tongue is raised and touching the palate, okay? This is why if you look at the grammar rule, if there is a and visarga, if cha or ta comes after it, you get either sha or sha or sa. Visarga becomes either sha or sha or sa. This is part of the so-called visarga sandhi. The reason is cha and sha are very similar, ta and sha are very similar, and ta and sa are very similar. And when you say visarga, visarga means letting the air go. So if air is going and you are making this sound, you get something similar, but with a small gap so that air can go. That is the reason for this particular rule. But the bottom line is sha should be in the same place as cha. So Shiva is very similar to Shiva. Shiva is very similar to Tiva. And Siva is very similar to Tiva in terms of where the tongue position. So just to be clear, I want to pronounce these three sounds again. Sha, sha, sa. Sha, sha, sa. The place where tongue is raised, for sha it is at the a little to the back. For sha, it is basically a little further. For ta, it is on the teeth. Okay, so sa is on the teeth, sha is behind, sha is even further behind. Sha, ta, sha, sha, sa. If you practice these three sounds, then you can perfect these three sounds. Now I will talk about the pronunciation of visarga, the two dots. So if you look at these words here, you have Rama and visarga, Hari and visarga, Guru and visarga. And people normally pronounce it as Ramaha, Harihi, Guruhu, especially in South India. This visarga is pronounced as Ha, and this as He, and this as Hu. But the problem is that's not really the right pronunciation. Rama is supposed to be two letters, two syllables, both gurus. Whereas if you pronounce it as Ramaha, effectively this is what you are pronouncing, Ramaha. This is three letters. That's not what this is supposed to be. In grammar rules, in meter rules, this is supposed to be two aksharas. So, moreover, if this pronunciation was Ramaha, then this is how you should write it. Why should you write like this? So, this is not the right pronunciation. And some people will pronounce it as Rama. But again, for there is a sound, there is a symbol. So, this is Rama and this is Ramaha. Neither is the correct pronunciation. Visarga literally means letting go. It basically means whatever air is there in the lungs, you basically release it gently. So, the correct pronunciation is Rama. Rama. It's kind of like Rama but not explicit. It's basically a subtle pronunciation of So it is Rama. Similarly, if you take Hari and Visarga, Hari, Guru. So wherever you have Visarga, it is basically just letting the air go. So it is pronounced the same way in all these three. It's not like this is Ha and this is He and this is Hu. So Rama, Hari, Guru. And some people actually pronounce the Visarga correctly when it comes in the middle of a line, but at the end of the line they pronounce it as Ha, He, Hu. But the thing is, Sanskrit is a very logical language. You don't have different pronunciations in different places for the same symbol. Each symbol has the same pronunciation. So to emphasize again, this is Rama, this is Hari, and this is Guru. So this is a very subtle letting go of the air. Now I'm going to talk about halantas, pronunciation of halantas, which are basically words that end in a consonant without a vowel coming after the consonant. So if you look at these examples here, if you see the first one, it says Ayatanavan Bhavati. This, for example, comes in the Mantra Pushpa. People pronounce the halanta here. This is basically N, Na consonant without a vowel coming after it, like R, E, anything coming. So people pronounce this as Ayatanavan Bhavati. Ayatanavan Bhavati. Whereas, suppose the order was reversed and it was Bhavatyayatanavan. People will pronounce as Bhavatyayatanavan. They basically add a U or E or some vowel here. For example, you will understand better if I use an example from Atharvasesham, Ganapati Atharvasesham. There is Avaparastat, Avapaschattat, all those things. People say instead of Avaparastat, people say Avaparastat. Similarly, Prachodayat. If you say the Gayatri Mantra, various Gayatri Mantras have Prachodayat at the end. People normally pronounce as Prachodayat. So they add an explicit vowel to the t at the end and make it Prachodayat. Similarly, had this been Bhavatyayatanavan, people would have called it Bhavatyayatanavan. But the thing is here, when you get the same symbol, you are not saying Ayatanavan Bhavati, you say Ayatanavan Bhavati. So if you are pronouncing this Haranta like this here, it should obviously be the same way here also, even if it's at the end of the line. Bottom line is, this whole thing is supposed to be one akshara, one syllable. In terms of chandas, this is one guru, this is one laghu, this is one laghu, this is one laghu. This whole thing is supposed to be one guru. Whereas if you pronounce it as van, or similarly here in the case of prachodayat, if you say as yat, this tu has a vowel, so this becomes an individual akshara. So you will basically get one extra akshara. So this way of pronunciation changes the meaning, changes the number of letters, changes the meter, changes everything. This is definitely not correct. Prachodayat is the correct pronunciation, not prachodayat. It should be prachodayat, avaparastat. The only problem is why this mistake came is probably because when I say prachodayat, you can't tell whether the last consonant that I am pronouncing is k or t or n, whether it's prachodayat or prachodayat or prachodayan. You can't really make out from my pronunciation because vowel is the life of an akshara. The consonant is like a dead body, it is like a corpse. And vowel that is coming after the consonant, it is basically putting the life in the akshara. That is why ta has life, but it has no life. If I pronounce it correctly, you can't even hear it clearly. So that is why a guru probably when he was teaching Sishyas, if he says prachodayat, people can't even hear whether he has said prachodayat or prachodayak or prachodayan or prachodayap. So he probably added some vowel at the end so that there is some life in that letter so that people can actually hear it. So probably a guru said prachodayat and then people thought that was the correct pronunciation, and now almost every person who is chanting these mantras says prachodayat, avaparastat, avapaschattat, etc. But that is definitely not correct. If you are teaching somebody to be explicit, you can pronounce this clearly. But when you are doing sadhana, when you are using it as a mantra, the correct pronunciation is avaparastat, prachodayat, like that. Okay. I will talk about the pronunciation of an vowel, which South Indians and North Indians pronounce differently. This is the vowel that comes after A, after the vowel A. South Indians pronounce it as I and North Indians pronounce it as A. I'm going to talk about the pronunciation of that. Let's take this Bijakshara. Let us take this Bijakshara. This comes in the Navarna mantra in the Saptasati. So this letter with a bindu after it, South Indians pronounce it as Aim. Though we write it as A-I-M, the pronunciation is more like A-Y-M basically. Aim. It's like I and then M. So this is how South Indians pronounce, but North Indians pronounce it as Am. So what is the correct pronunciation? If you look at it logically, there is a sandhi called Vriddhi Sandhi. That sandhi says, if A and A come one after the other, you get this particular vowel. Similarly, if A and O come, you get this vowel. So if you say A, and without a break, immediately you say the letter A. Say A, and without a break, immediately say A. When you say A immediately after A, you actually get the sound A. So obviously, the correct pronunciation is a North Indian pronunciation in this case. So the pronunciation of this vowel is not Aim, but it is Am. A as in, for example, cat or fat or fan. So that is the vowel that you should be using for this particular thing. So it is Am. Now, similarly, if you have the word Aishwarya, people call it Aishwarya, but it is Ashwarya. Similarly, Aindri, it should be Andri. So the correct pronunciation is the North Indian pronunciation. Similarly, for this letter, like in Aushadham, South Indians will say it as Aushadha, but the correct pronunciation is Ashadha. If you say A and without a break you say O, A and O, A, O, you get the sound A, like the sound in doctor. What you write in German as O with two dots, or some people may write as OE, that A sound you get. So that is the correct pronunciation of this. So it's not Aushadha, but it is Ashadha. We can actually look at this Vruddhisandhi rule from the point of view of modern linguistics. In modern linguistics, there is a concept called vowel trapezium. When we say any particular vowel, the tongue is raised at a particular spot, and those parts, if you basically map within the mouth, this trapezium will show them. All the vowels are arranged along the sides of a particular trapezium that is within our mouth. So if you say, for example, oo, e, oo, e, oo, e, you will realize that when you say oo, your tongue is raised at the back of the mouth, oo, whereas when you say e, it is actually at the front. So that is why, if this is the person, this is the nose, this is the mouth, etc. E is somewhere here, oo is at the back. Similarly, a is a little below e and o is a little below oo. So I will actually do something interesting. What I will do is, I will start pronouncing with E, and then I will slide my tongue along the vowel trapezium all the way like this up to woo, so that you basically hear all the sounds. Okay? Actually, point at this, I will basically be sliding the marker as I pronounce. So I was continuously pronouncing some vowel or the other. All these vowels may not have a symbol in our language, but I was continuously starting from E. I was going E, A, O, and U. I was basically sliding along this and pronouncing all these other vowels also that are in between. I'll do it again. E. So I didn't basically stop the sound and start making a new sound. I was continuously sliding my tongue along the vowel trapezium. So I was continuously producing vowels. But these are the critical vowels. Now the thing is, if you say A and immediately if you try to say A, basically tongue has to slide from this position to this position. So it will end up settling somewhere in between. So that is why you get this sound, the A sound. Similarly, if you say A and immediately try to say O, tongue will basically settle down in between. Similarly, if you say A and immediately see E, tongue will settle down somewhere in the middle, which is basically this. That is why A plus E is A and A plus U is O. That is, these are the Gunasandhi rules. Whereas A plus A is A and A plus O is A. These are the Vruddhisandhi rules. So this is very, in terms of modern linguistics also, these grammar rules are very, very logical. The only problem is, because we don't pronounce this sound as A but pronounce it as I, and don't pronounce the other sound as A but as OW, that is why basically the rules don't make sense. If you do the right pronunciation, all the rules are very, very logical. Now we will talk about the pronunciation of another tricky vowel. This is the vowel that comes in the alphabet after I, E. After I, E, U. After U, we get this vowel. This is the one in the so-called Rishi. So that vowel we are going to talk about. So let us take, for perfecting the pronunciation, let us take the beginning of the Lakshmi's, Mahalakshmi's Ashtotthasana Stotram. We'll take these words. South Indians normally pronounce this as Prakrutim, Vikrutim, Vidyam, Prakrutim, Vikrutim they pronounce. And if you take North Indians, they pronounce this as Prakritim, Vikritim. They pronounce this as Kri, and South Indians pronounce it as Kru. But the thing is, neither is correct pronunciation, because both the ways, however you are pronouncing, there is stress on pra. When you say Prakritim, Prak, the K is being added, it puts stress on pra. So as a result, pra should become a guru. But based on the Chandas rules, pra is a laghu, this is also a laghu. So the way South Indians and North Indians pronounce, both are wrong. Similarly, to convince ourselves that the common pronunciations are wrong, look at the Yanadesha Sandhi rule. If A comes after E, U, the so-called Ru and the so-called Lu, you are supposed to get Ya, Ra, La, Va. Sorry, I made a mistake. Ya. Oh, no, actually this is right. So, if E and A come one after the other without a break, you get Ya. You can actually try it yourself. Say E, E, E. Without a break, say A immediately. E, 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 A. When you say E and immediately A without a break, you do get Ya. E, 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 Ya. Similarly, Wa. You say U and immediately A without a break, you get Wa. But try saying Ru, and say A. Ru, Rwa. You don't get Ra, but you get Rwa. Similarly, if you say Re, the North Indian pronunciation, Ria, you actually get Ria. You don't get Ra. But the thing is, if you pronounce this vowel correctly, you are supposed to get Ra. So obviously, the standard pronunciations are wrong. Same with the so-called Lu sound. So what is the correct pronunciation? First, I will pronounce it correctly, and then I will tell you how you can perfect the pronunciation in terms of the vowel trapezium that I introduced to you earlier. I will lay them out on the vowel trapezium. But first, let me pronounce uh, the correct way. So it's not Prakritim Vikritim, or it is not Prakritim Vikritim. The correct pronunciation is Prakritim Vikritim, Prakritim Vikritim, Prakritim Vikritim. If you see the way I am pronouncing, if you say just that sound and immediately say ah, you actually get the ra. Now the thing is, the tricky thing is how to get this pronunciation. That is very difficult. So before I go on to vowel trapezium, I want to pronounce it a couple more times. Om Prakritim Vikritim, Prakritim Vikritim. Also, you can realize that the way I am pronouncing, when I say ka, there is no stress on the previous sound. When you say prakritim, vikritim, there is a stress on the pra and v. Prakritim, vikritim, the stress is not there here. Prakritim, vikritim, so it is basically just ka and vowel. There is no explicit ra sound. So let me show you how this is on the vowel trapezium. So if you look at vowel trapezium, E I told you is at the top of the vowel trapezium, towards the front of the mouth, and U is at the back, right? Now simply, if you trisect this, make it into three equal parts. The Ru sound is supposed to be, not supposed to be, it should be here, and Lu sound should be here. So it is E, Ru, Lu, U. So this is the way they are. So if you get a feel for E like this, now if you basically traverse along this, you get these sounds. That is why you get Ra, Ra, La, Va. Basically, if you add R to these four sounds, you get Yara Lava. That is why they are arranged in this particular order in the alphabet, because you are going from the front of the mouth to the back of the mouth. That is why Yara Lava are arranged like this. So this is very difficult, but if you say E and U and get a feel for the line between them, say E, U. U is at the back, E is at the front. E, U. And then if you get a feel for it, you traverse along that line, then you actually get these sounds. So just to be clear, I want to pronounce them again. The correct pronunciation is Om Prakritim Vikritim, Prakritim Vikritim. It's almost like Prakritim without A being explicit, basically. Effectively, it is that. Just as E is basically Ya without A being explicit. So it is Om Prakritim Vikritim, Prakritim Vikritim. So it is neither Prakritim nor Prakritim. Now I want to say a few words about the logic behind how the alphabet was arranged in that order, the structure in it basically. So this is not about any specific mispronunciation, but just about the structure of the alphabet. If you take the vowels, you basically, I talked about vowel trapezium earlier in this talk. So you start with A. When I say A, basically it includes both A and A. Both of them are in the same place. A is basically longer version, this is the shorter version. So you have the I here, and then you go to the top, E, and then U, then the so-called Ru sound and Lu sound. So start from the bottom, the middle, then you go to the right and left, and then again right and left, Ru and Lu, and then AI on the right, and again OO on the left. So you basically go like this, cover these and cover these, cover these. So there is a nice structure. Similarly, if you look at the consonants, the main consonants ka group, cha group, ta group, tha group, and pa group, like I said earlier, if you see where the tongue is raised, it starts at the back of the mouth and slowly comes to the lips. Ka, cha, ta, ta, pa. So there is a nice structure to which the consonants are arranged. And even if you take Yaralava, Sashasaha, Yaralava are basically by adding R to these four sounds, and Sashasa, like I said earlier, are at these positions basically. So there is a nice structure in the way vowels and consonants are arranged in the Sanskrit alphabet. In most modern languages, the alphabet basically is just arbitrary. But here, there's a nice linguistic reason, basically based on how you pronounce, how things are placed in the mouth, the alphabet is arranged, which is very, very nice. Now I'm going to talk about the pronunciation of Bindu, or the nasal sound, before various sounds. If you look at the consonants, they are arranged like this. The kavarga, ka, kha, ga, gha, have this particular nasal after them. Similarly, cha, cha, ja, jha have this nasal. Ta, tha, da, dha have na. Ta, tha, da, dha have na. Pa, pha, ba, bha have ma. Now, if you, for example, look at this word, ra with a bindu and ga, this bindu is basically this particular nasal. Basically, bindu coming before these four consonants is pronounced as this nasal. So this is not ramga or ranga, but this is ranga, ranga. That sound is basically this sound. Similarly, if you have the word anka, it's the same sound. So bindu, the dot coming before ka, kha, ga, gha is pronounced as this particular sound. So ranga, anka, all these basically they are like this. Similarly, if you have a word called manjari, this is not mamjari or manjari. This is not ma or na. This bindu is basically this nasal. That is why I wrote it as like this, manjari. So this sound is different and this sound is different. Now if you look at a word like anda, pinda, brahmanda, like that, this sound, this basically, because this is da, the bindu before ta, tha, da, dha becomes na. So this is basically anda. Here I want to make one point. Some people pronounce it incorrectly as anda. They pronounce it as anda because in English you have words like and. So before the da sound, we are used to saying na, the regular na sound, dental sound. So people pronounce this as anda, but this is wrong. The correct pronunciation is anda, anda. Similarly, anda, pinda, brahmanda, anda, pinda, brahmanda. People basically sometimes mispronounce this as na, but the bottom line is the bindu before da becomes na. Similarly, if you have anta, if you have a, bindu and ta, this bindu becomes nakaram because that is the nasal in the ta group. So this is anta. And similarly, if you have a bindu before ba, like amba, this is not anba, but this is amba, So that is basically makara. So for all these consonants, you have a nasal coming in their group. So bindu coming before them becomes that nasal. Now the tricky thing is, what about the remaining consonants? Yara, lava, shasha, saha. Ya, ra, la, va, sha, sha, saha. So before them, if you get bindu, what is the correct pronunciation? Is it this or this or this or this or this? Some people, for example, if you take this word, si with a bindu and ha, some people pronounce it as sinha, some pronounce it as simha, basically taking either na or ma because those are the two popular nasals. But why not sinha or simha? You can have multiple pronunciations. So the standard rule is, you basically, after covering all the 5 nasals, you go back to this. So for yara, lava, sasha, saha, it is supposed to be this nasal, technically. So, but some people mispronounce it as simha. They don't say simha, but they say it as simha. But the correct pronunciation is this, si, and the nasal that comes in the ka group, and ha. So, but the problem is, because we are not used to the correct pronunciation, it is very difficult. This nasal, our brains are tuned to pronounce it only if we know that one of these sounds is coming after that. So to trick your brain, you can do the correct pronunciation by thinking that you are going to say singa. You are not going to say singa, but you trick your brain that you are going to say singa. And then just when you are about to say singa, say sing, you get the sound, and just when you are about to say ga, you drop ga, instead you say ha. So if you do that, you will get the correct pronunciation. So the correct pronunciation is singha, singha. I am about to say singa, but at the last second, I am dropping ga, instead I am saying ha. So I get singha, singha, singha. So some people basically, they can't drop ga completely. So actually they say ga also, and then they say ha. That is why this is another common mispronunciation of this sound. If you have, for example, Narsimha, some people pronounce it as Narsingha. That is because they are not dropping ga. So the correct pronunciation is almost like singha, except that you should drop the ga. So the correct pronunciation is singha, singha, Singha. So that is the correct pronunciation. And also in some Veda mantras, for example, there is a mantra for Narsimha Gayatri. It says Tanno Narasimha Prachodayat, but they write the Narasimha like this. Nara, they say they use a symbol like this basically. Ha. And if you look at Telugu, it is written as G with a circle after it. So this people pronounce it as Gum. So they say Narasigumha, Narasigumha or Narasigamha. But the correct, this comes in lot of Veda mantras. Wherever there is a bindu before Ya, Ra, La, Va, Sa, Sha, Sa, Ha. So again, the correct pronunciation is Nara. You basically think that you are going to say Narasingaha. But before saying Ga, at the last second you drop Ga, instead you say Ha. So the correct pronunciation is Narasingha, Narasingha. So the meaning of this symbol is basically a nasal that is similar to G. It's not, it doesn't mean that you say G. Moreover, people don't say G, they say Gu or Ga. They explicitly add the Ga sound and they explicitly add a vowel, either Wu or A they add. So they are actually adding one additional letter. So the chandas is changed, the meaning is changed, and that is definitely not the correct pronunciation. This comes, for example, in the standard Ganapati mantra, Om Gananaham Tva Ganapati Gum, people say, but the correct pronunciation is Om Gananaham Tva Ganapating Havamahe. So you think that you are going to say Ganapating Gavamahe, but at the last second after saying Ganapating, when you are about to say G, you drop G and you say H instead. So you get Ganapating Havamahe. Okay, so going back to this sound, this should not be Singha, or it should not be Simha, or it should not be Sinha, but it should be Singha. And this applies to lot of Veda mantras where you see this symbol. You see the nasal sound with this, or in Telugu, you basically see this symbol G with a circle after it. So whenever you see this symbol, the correct pronunciation is basically this nasal which comes in the Ga group, Kaka Ga group. So this is a tricky one where a lot of people make mistake. And in my opinion, my humble opinion, if you are unable to make the correct pronunciation, just say use Ma. You say Simha instead of saying Simha. You just say Simha. It is better than saying Sigumha or Sigamha or all those, because there instead of having two letters, you are adding a third letter. You are actually changing the chandas. So just say Simha if you are unable to say the correct way. But the correct way is Simha. Now I will talk about the pronunciation of the sound Pa versus Fa. So if you see, this symbol is Pa, it is not Fa, it is Pa. Whereas this symbol, which is not there in Sanskrit, this is only there in Hindi from the Arabic influence, this symbol is Fa. So Fa is there only in Hindi and Arabic, it's not there in Sanskrit, you only have Pa. So if you see this word, for example, it is not Phalam but Phalam, Phalam. Similarly, this is Phalguna, not Phalguna. And similarly, this is Phanihi, not Phanihi. So when people say Phani or Phalguna or Phala or Phalitam, basically it's a mispronunciation due to the Arabic influence. It should be Phalam, Phalguna, Phani, etc. Now I want to talk about a mispronunciation of some halans, some non-existent halans in North Indian pronunciation. If you take this mantra, the correct pronunciation is Om Ganeshaya Namah. Om Ganeshaya Namah. Some North Indians pronounce this Ganeshaya as Ganeshaya. Om Ganeshaya Namah, they say. But the thing is, in Sanskrit, if you want to say Ganeshaya, this is how you should write it. There should be an explicit halant in this Ya. Now it is Ganeshaya. If you write like this, it is not Ganeshaya, but it is Ganeshaya. The thing is, when you write Hindi, the A at the end of a word basically is not pronounced. For example, if you write Rama, you pronounce this as Ram, but that is only in Hindi because of the Arabic influence. In Sanskrit, if you write like this, it is Rama. If you write like this, then it is Ram. So you don't basically remove the A at the end of a word automatically. So when you see a mantra like this, you should pronounce as Om Ganeshaya Namah. Now I want to talk about the pronunciation of the Tha sound. If you look here, this is the symbol Tha, and lot of people, especially from South India, they mispronounce this as Dha. That may be because in Tamil, in Telugu and Kannada, The symbols are very close, except for a small dot. These two have the same symbol. That may be the source of the confusion. But people mispronounce tha as dha. They are totally different sounds. For example, if you take this word, the correct pronunciation is katha, not kadha. Similarly, if you take this word, it is atha, not adha. Especially in the Sankalpa, you have Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, Chaturveda, Purushartha, Palavaptyartham. All those things are mispronounced by a lot of South Indian priests. Instead of saying Dharmartha, they say Dharmardha. Dharmardha is wrong. It should be Dharmartha. Tha. There should be tha, not dha. If you say Dharmardha, the meaning changes. It means half of Dharma instead of Dharma and Artha. So it changes the meaning completely. Similarly, this word is not Purushartha but Purushartha. So you have to make conscious effort to pronounce tha. Basically, if you say ta with a stress, you get tha. Say th and then add h expression, you get th. Whereas if you say da and put stress on it, you get dha. So whenever you see the symbol, don't pronounce as dha but pronounce as tha. Tha. So, using this information that I have shared with you, please try to perfect your pronunciation. If you are convinced that the standard way you have been pronouncing certain sound is incorrect, and if you buy the logic that I have presented, please change your pronunciation. But my 2 cents are, I just want to clarify that pronunciation is a very small portion of the thing. The more important thing is having devotion, having a bhavana, whatever you are saying or whatever your ritual you are doing, feeling what is supposed to represent, whatever it is a metaphorical representation of, feeling that particular thought in your mind is far more important. But the thing is, having said that, pronunciation is also a little important. So when the other thing cannot be perfected, at least you can start off by perfecting your pronunciation. So please don't think that this is most important, but this is an important factor. So along with the other important factors, you can also try to improve this. So if you find this information useful, please feel free to share it with anybody who may be interested. Thank you very much. Sarvam Sri Krishnarpanamastu. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Sarve Jana Sukhino Bhavantu. Yavat Bhumandale Sanatana Dharmo Vardhatu. Visheshatah Bhartakhande. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.